Welcome to Poetry Lockdown, day 43. Special Poetry Lockdown for me today. We are honoring the life of an amazing Irish poet, Eavan Boland, who just passed away yesterday of a stroke. He was one of the foremost poets of her generation. Like I said, a great Irish poet, but just a great poet for the world. I want to read a little bit from an interview that she gave, just that kind of gives you an introduction to the way she saw her own work, and then read just a fantastic poem that I actually just read for the first time this morning, but I've been living with it all day. And as the title of the poem suggests, it's something that definitely speaks to our current moment. So first, let me just read a little bit from an interview she gave in 2001, talking about her own vocation as a poet. She said, "I began to write in an Ireland where the word woman and the word poet seemed to be in some sort of magnetic opposition to each other. Ireland was a country with a compelling past, and the word woman invoked all kinds of images of communality which were thought to be contrary to the life of anarchic individualism invoked by the word poet. I wanted to put the life I lived into the poem I wrote, and the life I lived was a woman's life, and I couldn't accept the possibility the life of the woman would not or could not be named in the poetry of my own nation." Well, God bless your defiance. It is beautiful, Eavan Boland. And there's a toughness and tenacity in that little snippet from the interview I read, and it's in her poetry as well, and definitely in this poem. So the poem I'm about to read is called Quarantine. And it's from what I read, looking into the story, it's actually based on a real life story that the poet discovered, written and recorded during the time of the Great Potato Famine of 1845 to, I believe, 1850. So let me read the poem and then talk about why I love this poem. Quarantine by Eavan Boland. In the worst hour of the worst season of the worst year of a whole people, a man set out from the workhouse with his wife. He was walking. They were both walking north. She was sick with famine fever and could not keep up. He lifted her and put her on his back. He walked like that west and north, until at nightfall under freezing stars they arrived. In the morning they were both found dead, of cold, of hunger, of the toxins of a whole history. But her feet were held against his breastbone. The last heat of his flesh was his last gift to her. Let no love poem ever come to this threshold. There is no place here for the inexact praise of the easy graces and sensuality of the body. There is only time for this merciless inventory. Their death together in the winter of 1847, also what they suffered, how they lived, and what there is between a man and woman, and in which darkness it can best be proved. Wow, I get chills just reading that. Yeah, I mean, you're in the hands of a master with this poem, obviously. And I don't want to say too much because, like I said, this poem overawes me. One of the things that I will say that I love so much about it, though, is its willingness in the middle of telling the story honestly and directly of these two unnamed people who are nevertheless of vital importance. In the moment of sharing the story, there is this commentary on what it means to really write poetry and to write love poetry, and it is so tough and tenacious. I love that stanza that begins, let no love poem ever come to this threshold. The love and the action of these two people who up to the moment of their death are, together heating each other's, the image of her feet held against the husband's breastbone, the last heat of his flesh, was that of his last gift to her. That image, she says, nothing else, right, that you can say with your, easy grace and sensuality can touch this. And to me, that's the heart of this poem. And she wrote I think a whole book about it, was something about against love poetry, and it was really about the dailiness, the ordinariness of love, and that was what was interesting to her and what spoke to her. So, Eavan Boland, thank you for this amazing, nourishing poem, especially in this moment. I'll read the last two stanzas and call it a day. Let no love poem ever come to this threshold. There is no place here for the inexact praise of the easy graces and sensuality of the body. There is only time for this merciless inventory. Their death together in the winter of 1847. Also, what they suffered, how they lived, and what there is between a man and woman, and in which darkness it can best be proved. Thank you, Eavan Boland, for your beautiful life and witness as a poet, and thank you all for listening.